The loud ring of my phone woke me up from a restless sleep by breaking the silence in my college room. As I stumbled for the device, my heart was racing and the screen flashed an unknown number. It was 3:07 in the morning. Calls at this time never have good news. Taylor Reed. The voice was messed up, like it was talking through fuzz. Speaking, I answered. My words a mix of confusion and irritation from being tired. I know you've been chosen, but you don't know me. Deals in the Netherworld. You have 70 hours. It felt like someone was buzzing in my ear when the line went dead. It sent a chill down my spine. Been picked. Contracts in the Netherworld. From the bottom of my heart, I knew this wasn't a joke, even though it sounded like a joke. In the middle of the night, my laptop called to me from my desk. A simple search led me to Netherworld Contracts, a forum on the dark web where people could buy services that shouldn't be seen in public. While I was typing, my hands were shaking, and I could feel bile rising in my throat. I then came across a thread where an unnamed user was asking for the urgent removal of a problem. My picture, which I had just shared on social media a few days before, was included. I had to do something. The victim didn't just sit there until the end of the movie like in some horror movies. I locked the door, put a chair under the handle, and then called some people. The first was to the police, who said they would look into it, but told me that it would be hard to track down anonymous online threats. Then to Marcus, who has been my best friend since we were kids. He was the one who had my back, with bags under his eyes. He showed up with the dawn, and his drive was the same as mine. We spent the morning adding security cams and new locks that would not be easy to pick to my small student housing. It was Marcus's uncle who was a prepper. He lived and breathed conspiracy ideas, so Marcus picked up a lot from him. Marcus looked at me as the sun went down and long shadows fell across my room, making it look like a castle. He told me, Taylor, we'll get through this. But there was a shake in his voice that made his words sound less sure of himself. The night came on, and there was a very quiet that was almost too much to bear. I did nothing but wait for the shooters to come. I wasn't going to give up easily, though. I had been warned, but I also knew what to do. The person who did this had no idea what they were doing. And I still haven't either. But I was going to find out. When you least expect it, paranoia will swallow you up in darkness, like a shadow following you around and copying everything you do. It had been with me all the time since the night of the call. There were the shoulder looks and quick responses to things that didn't hurt, like the mailman, a stray cat, or the wind. It wasn't all in my head, though. Today, it was the man in the black coat. His look was a little too focused, and he was a little too close by accident. He had been seen 3 times, by the college library, near the coffee shop, and now outside my safe place. Then came the second email, which only had one line. 48 hours. Under it, a timer was ticking, and with each second that went by, a scary limit got closer. I wasn't going to wait for the timer to go off. It's the kind of self-defense class where you learn not how to block hits, but how to make the person who's attacking you feel bad. The teacher, a thin woman with steel, like eyes, told me I would have power. Power to fight back and stay alive. I needed more than just strength, though. I needed to know. The nickname Architect 666 was like a ghost in the machine. It was hidden in the darkness of the dark web. A map would have helped me find the ghost. Kieran walks in. He works as a hacker full-time and as a barista part-time. His skills let me into rooms I didn't know were there. Our coffee had gone cold, so we dove into the dark and followed the digital clues that the Bitcoin transaction had left behind. The blockchain was like a wall, but every wall has a way to get in. The trap went off just as we were about to discover something important. A message with a map and a blinking dot showed up. It said, "Come by yourself if you want answers." It was dangerous and could have been fatal. but the desire to reveal Architects X166 was too strong to refuse. I got to the spot, which was an empty lot surrounded by dark trees. Through the earpiece he gave me, Kieran's voice could be heard. "Watch out, Taylor. This looks like a setup." He had a point. The air changed as soon as I stepped outside. Out of the darkness, figures came out, setting up a quiet ambush. But I wasn't the scared girl I used to be. I fought like an animal trapped in a tight spot. Each strike a word in a story I wouldn't let someone else write. I just barely made it out alive, with bruises all over my body and little air in my lungs. But getting away wasn't a win. To be clear, Architect 666 told me I was now in his world, a place where safety was fake and everything was being watched. I kept going as the countdown did, because staying alive wasn't enough anymore. It was about getting back at Architect 666. It was about taking back control of my life story. The hacker's voice in my ear reminded me that I wasn't alone in this crazy game as I limped back to safety. The screen's light was a bright spot in the dark seas of my new life. Kieran's fingers moved quickly over the keyboard, going deeper into the dark web's world of computers. "Jamie," I said in a whisper. The name made my mouth hurt. My ex-partner, the one who said they would be with me forever, but moved worlds away when college was over. Kieran stopped and looked at me with a serious frown. "Are you sure about this? These things become personal if Jamie is involved." I nodded, and my resolution grew stronger. "I need to know." Kieran's skills helped him find the deepest parts of the internet, where hours were turned into code and IP numbers. We found the transaction, which was a wallet full of Bitcoin. The path led us back to a place we didn't expect. This IP address wasn't from another country. It was from Jamie's last known address in the United States. "This doesn't make sense," I said in my head. Jamie had left for a job in Europe, and his social media accounts were marked with the location of that job. Was he really behind this, or was it just a digital trick? Before we could think any further, an unwanted and scary video link appeared. Kieran gave me a wary look. "You up for this?" I wasn't afraid, but I couldn't afford to be. When I agreed, he clicked. The video was fuzzy, but the sound was clear. It was a warped voice talking about Netherworld Contracts in a way that seemed all too familiar. As the camera moved, I caught flashes of other people, but their faces were dark. A group of people who are anonymous on the web and are linked together through it. "They're not just after you," Kieran said in a low voice. "This is bigger." At the end of the movie, there was a logo, a stylized 666, and my countdown. We were running out of time, and the web was closing in on us. Its threads were made by more than one person, not just the one I thought it was. As I leaned back, a quiet scream started to rise in my throat. Whether he was a pawn or an actor, Jamie was a part of this dark web. Architect 666 was eager to tie up all the loose ends, and I was it. But loose ends can make the whole thing fall apart. I was about to pull. As I stood outside the empty building, where Architect 666 had said answers would be found, the last few seconds of the countdown went by. The building was old, and the windows looked like empty eyes. The air was still at night, but my heartbeat wasn't. "Are you sure about this?" Kieran's voice was static in my ear, a little bit of technology to break the quiet. "No," I said, "but it ends tonight." When I walked through the door, it creaked open as if it didn't want to be used. My phone, which had scared me so much, was now my flashlight. Its light was weak, but it was beating the darkness. The inside was a building that had been destroyed by time and carelessness. There was loud graffiti on the walls and colors that didn't go with the sad scene. There was a circle of chairs in the middle of the main hall. "Take a seat," Taylor read. The voice was real, not twisted, and it came from someone who came out of the darkness. Architect 666 wasn't just a handle anymore. It was a man whose eyes looked through you. I did not move. Why? That was the only word that got out. He said, "Because you're special," with a disgusting smile on his face. "Because you fought when other people gave up. That makes you valuable." The plan wasn't meant for me to die. It was meant to get me to join. He was after my fight and my refusal to give in for his network, his web of fear that went far beyond what I had seen. "You think I would join you?" My voice was filled with disgust, a clear note among the shaky ones of fear. "Think of it as survival," he said, moving forward. It wasn't really a choice. I looked over at the chairs. Each one was probably a way out for someone in the same situation as me. After taking one step back, Architect 666 took the same number of steps back as I did. I ran deeper into the building instead of back to the door I'd come in through. Behind me, I could hear the chase, and I could hear my own footsteps. The building was like a maze, but I felt like the maze, but I felt like the Minotaur, going around edges and ducking through doorways like I was at home. I rushed out of a side door into the cool air before dawn. He was there, the door open, and the car running. I heard him shout, "Let's go." Once I knew it was time to go. We left behind Architect 666 and his offer, but not the truth he told us. It was everywhere, and I wasn't the only thing it was interested in or hunting. The first light of dawn crept across the sky as we drove. It was a sign of fresh starts and a harsh reality. It wasn't really the end. As long as Architect 666 was out there, other people were in danger. I made it through, but that was only the beginning. Not only was I trying to stay alive, but I was also trying to fight back and get out of the web that was trying to catch me. I wasn't by myself this time.